Hi, this is Tropical Plants at 53 degrees north. Now, you might think Tradescantia always grow well for me. Well, I've got some to show you that are doing quite so well. Okay, so here we have some very underperforming Tradescantia. So here, this miserable looking specimen is Tradescantia fluminensis blushing bride, and I've had that since May. It's now November. This one looking slightly better, but still not very good, is Tradescantia fluminensis albovitata quicksilver. Again, same date. And over here, I think I got these at the same time. And over here, we've got Tradescantia albiflora sweetness. Again, another one that I got in May. Actually, I think my 5 is actually a 3. So I've probably got these in March. The fact that it's been so many months since, you would expect these to be much further on. I bought several other Tradescantia at the time and they're doing much better. So the issue is, why is that? Now, I'm pretty sure it's not the conditions that they're in. I'm thinking it's what they're actually in, what they're planted in, the media. I tried COIR for the first time with Tradescantias and it doesn't seem to be doing that well in the COIR. Now, this is canna, it's finely chopped COIR. And there is supposedly some fertilizer inside there. I've not added anything to it. So what I'm going to do today is a very quick, very non-scientific experiment. Very quick for you anyway, because you'll see the result of it. I won't see the result of it for a while yet. And I'm going to plant it in the more traditional multi-purpose compost mixed with some perlite to open it up a little bit. And let's see if that makes any difference. So I'm going to repot those up now, put them to one side, come back to this in however long I think it will take, or however long it does actually take for something to happen, because obviously we're in the end of autumn now, we're coming up to winter. The conditions outside are obviously not going to play much of a part in if they actually do improve. It clearly won't be because of the weather, so it will pretty likely be down to the media that they're in. So it could be that I would have to actually add the COIR into some multi-purpose compost. So the idea behind it is that I'm trying to save the planet, of course, like all of us. I'm trying to cut down on those kinds of peat-loaded compost. So let's see what happens anyway. So for me, it might be a few weeks. For you, it's only going to be a matter of seconds. Okay, I know I was expecting the results, but just before I show you the results, I just wanted to show you that in terms of root growth, no problem at all there, just no top growth. Loads and loads of roots, especially on that one. So actually the one with the smallest amount of top growth has got the most amount of roots. So this one is the fluminensis albovitata. That one is a little bit less root bound. It has gone around the bottom of the pot, but there's like an area in the middle that it's left off. And the albiflora sweetness, again, loads of matting at the bottom, not quite as thickly packed as this one over here. So I'm going to, as much as I can anyway, try and tease away some of that compost and get it into some multi-purpose, and let's see what happens. Okay, and we are back. Now, it's actually been almost 6 weeks since I filmed those 3 Tradescantia, different varieties of Tradescantia, and as we look here at Hippeastrum charisma on the right there, and of course Echinanthus hot flash on the left, looking absolutely superb despite it being the last week of December. So what I will do is take you around and show you some results, and I think we have something to talk about here, some results definitely. So just move down a little bit here and try and steady myself with the camera. So we'll start off with this one over here. Now I think pretty clearly, let's just see if I can swizz this around. So this one is Tradescantia blushing bride, fluminensis blushing bride, and already you can see there is a significant amount of growth on there compared to what I had before. Now you might think, okay, well I've actually up-potted it a little bit, and that was mainly because there was so much roots. There was no way I could untangle all the roots and actually get the new media, which if you remember was a mixture of perlite and like a multi-purpose compost. I don't think it was a peat-free compost, but in future I will only buy peat-free compost, but this was some that I had left. It's took me about 2 years to try and get rid of it all. So that does have peat in there, it does have some nutrition in there. So first of all, we'll say that has definitely grown, so we'll take that as that is a success so far. Let's move on to the other one. So the other one is Fluminensis, Tradescantia fluminensis albovitata, not quite as much growth, but a definite amount of growth. And what we're comparing this to is the fact that they were in COIR before. It was a better time of the year, really, certainly for temperatures and for light. So you would have expected more growth during the previous month, but we had practically no growth at all for the previous few months. And it was only when I unpotted it that you could actually see that the roots had grown, but there was no top growth whatsoever. And the last one, Tradescantia albiflora sweetness, again, significant growth compared to what we had previously when it was just in COIR. So in the instance that I could actually tease away a little bit of the old media, I did, and I replaced it with the multipurpose compost and perlite. The one on the left there, the Tradescantia fluminensis blushing bride, I couldn't do that because it had so much root growth. So that meant that I wasn't able to do that. And in that case, I just up-potted it a little bit. So, first of all, pretty clear to me that just growing Tradescantia in COIR is not a good idea, certainly not in the long term, because they may grow a good root system, but in terms of top growth, in my very limited experiment, they grew nothing top growth wise. And the fact that it's now winter and we're in a worse position climate wise, and these plants in the multipurpose compost and perlite have grown much better, much quicker, much faster rate of growth than they did in the COIR. That tells me that in future I will prefer to use multipurpose compost as the media for Tradescantia. Now, this isn't a totally scientific experiment, I have to point that out. Clearly, it's a very small sample size. Clearly, I have changed one or two other variables, like for example, we've got the slightly bigger pot there. I've also not really potted them up in the same way, in as much as that one I couldn't actually tease out the roots, so I've just added the compost round the side. Those two, because they didn't have quite as much root growth, I was able to tease out a little bit of the compost, so they've been potted up in a slightly different way, and they're also in a different position in the greenhouse. They're now under a light, which is up there. They were over to the side here where I've just been showing you the hippeastrum and so on. They were down there. Now, I'm not saying that it's worse for light there or it's better over where I've got them now. It's just in a different place, so it's difficult again to say that you've actually kept things or kept variables the same. So that's a pretty short experiment, and it's certainly proven to me, to my satisfaction, even though I know it's not a completely scientific experiment. So let me know what you think about that. Have you tried different media, different growing media for Tradescantia, and do you find one better than another? I'd like to hear from you. Please put it in the comments. As always, if you found this at all useful or mildly interesting, please give me a thumbs up. It all helps. I'd love to hear from people too. Any comments down below, and for now I'll see you on the next one. Bye.